Well, y'all, we are back. Day 55 of the story, and I got a special guest, Miss Amby, riding down the road driving me. We're going to see Sunny D in person. Sunny D, we're going to go to the zoo, buddy. But as we go down that road, I said, what you think maybe I could just knock out day 55 of this story? She's like, hey, I'd love to hear you say the story. So here we are. Day 55 of the story with Amby, the one and only world famous Amber. Come on now, give it up for her. All right, so here we are, day 55, and let's see how this goes. Daniel was gifted to interpret the meaning of dreams, images, but neither he nor his three buddies were authorized to bow down before idols. They just didn't get that authorization, y'all. There was one thing, though, they refused to adapt to: foreign worship practices, and that violated their commitment to God. In that regard, they were holdouts, malcontents, and lawbreakers. Nebuchadnezzar decided to erect a statue some 90 feet tall and 9 feet wide. When the people were ordered to bow low and worship the statue, 3 men stood tall and refused to comply. The king was not happy. Old king said, King Nebuchadnezzar made an image of gold, 60 cubits high and 6 cubits wide. I'm going to guess that's right around that 90 feet and 9 feet that we just heard about, but in another kind of measurement, right? And set it up on the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. He then summoned the satraps, prefects, governors, advisors, treasurers, judges, magistrates, and all the other provincial officials who come to the dedication of the image he had set up. He said, y'all come out and see this thing I set up. See the image, right? So the satraps, prefects, governors, advisors, treasurers, judges, magistrates, and all the other provincial officials, y'all, they came. They should have said they all came, right? Assembled for the dedication of the image of King Nebuchadnezzar that he had set up. Yep, and they stood before it. Then the herald loudly proclaimed, nations and people of every language, this is what you are commanded to do. As soon as you hear the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, pipe, and other kinds of music. Uh-oh, I'm hearing the music in the background, you young men who had asked me to put music in the background. You must fall down and worship the image of gold that King Nebuchadnezzar has set up. Whoever does not fall down and worship will immediately be thrown into a blazing furnace. Just so y'all know, this music is copyright free, so feel free to crank it. Nobody's getting in trouble. All right. Therefore, as soon as they heard the sound of the horn, the flute, the zither, the lyre, the harp, and all kinds of music, all the nations and peoples of every language fell down and worshiped the image of gold that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Now, just so y'all know, I'm going to bet the people playing that music did not fall down and worship. And when you go to church, you look around. When everybody else is bowing their head praying, there's a team that's making music happen, and none of them do either. It's a strange thing. I'm sure it had to have been that way. And Amby's paying attention to things other than the road. Don't worry, we ain't wrecking yet, y'all. See, she's on her phone and on the road. Yeah, don't do like that when you're on the road. No, it was an accident. She just looked momentarily. It won't happen like that. So here we go. We're getting into it. At this time, some astrologers, astrologers are coming forward, came forward and denounced the Jews. They said to King Nebuchadnezzar, may the king live forever. Your Majesty has issued a decree that everyone who hears the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, pipe, and all kinds of music must fall down and worship the image of gold, that whoever does not fall down and worship will be thrown into a blazing furnace. Y'all don't want to go into blazing furnace, but there are some Jews whom you have set over the affairs of the province of Babylon. Shadrach. That's not his real name, but that's what they called him. Slave name, don't you know? Meshach, another slave name. And Mr. Abednego. Boy, I'm going to tell you, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego was slave names, not real names, but that's okay. They ain't going to worship. Who pay no attention to you. They ain't paying no attention, your majesty. They neither serve your God nor worship the image of gold you have set up. Oh my goodness, this is not going to make the king happy, is it? So they neither serve your God nor worship the image of gold you've set up. That's just not going to make the king happy. Furious with rage, it says. Furious. He was upset. Nebuchadnezzar summoned Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So these men were brought before the king, and Nebuchadnezzar said to them, "It is true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego." So these men were brought before the king, and Nebuchadnezzar said to them, "It is true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you, or is it true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you do not serve my gods or worship the image of gold I have set up?" Come on now, you know they serve God. "Now when you hear the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, pipe, or all kinds of music, if you are ready to fall down and worship the image I made, very good. But if you do not worship it, you will be thrown immediately into the blazing furnace. Then what God," and that's a little g, not big G, God, "will be able to rescue you from my hand." No little g God. Come on, Nebuchadnezzar. You know no little g God can do that because y'all worshiping fake things, right? Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego replied to him, "King Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to defend ourselves before you in this matter. If we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God we serve is able to deliver us from it, and he will deliver us from your majesty's hand. But even if he does not, we want you to know, your majesty, that we will not serve your little g gods or worship the image of gold you've set up." Then Nebuchadnezzar was furious with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and his attitude towards them changed. He ordered the furnace heated 7 times hotter than usual, and commanded some of the strongest soldiers in his army to tie up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and throw them into the blazing furnace. So these men, wearing their robes, trousers, and turbans, and other clothes, were bound and thrown into the blazing furnace. The king's command was so urgent, and the furnace was so hot, that the flames of the fire killed the soldiers who took Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These 3 men, firmly tied, fell into the blazing furnace. Y'all, it killed the people, threw them in there. It was hot. Then King Nebuchadnezzar leaped to his feet in amazement and asked his advisors, "Weren't there 3 men that I tied up and threw into the fire?" Dude, you're going senile if you can't remember how many men you tied up to throw into a furnace you ordered 7 times hotter. They replied, "Certainly, your majesty," because ain't nobody going to question a king that's going a little senile. He'll have them thrown in, right? He said, "Look, I see 4 men walking around in the fire, unbound and unharmed, and the 4th looks like a son of the little g gods." Y'all, we ain't worried about no little g gods. That son of the little g god. Nebuchadnezzar then approached the opening of the blazing furnace and shouted, "Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High, Big G God," we're talking Big G God here, "come come here. He recognized these dudes was worshiping Big G God. So Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came out of the fire, and the satraps, prefects, governors, royal advisors crowded around them. They saw that the fire had not harmed their bodies, nor was the hair on their heads singed. Their robes were not scorched, and there was no smell of fire on them. Y'all, fire smell gets in everything. Wasn't on them, nothing, right? No evidence they had ever been in the fire. Then Nebuchadnezzar said, "Praise be to the God of Big G God," once again, "of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his angel and rescued his servants. They trusted in him and defied the king's command, and were willing to give up their lives rather than serve and worship any little G God." That's right, except their own Big G God. Come on, get to Big G some praise. "Therefore I decree that the people of any nation or language who say anything against the Big G God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego be cut into pieces, and their houses be turned into piles of rubble. For no other little G God can save in this way." He knew it, he saw it, he witnessed it with his own eyes, y'all. And he said, we are worshiping Big G God from here on out. Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon. Pride regularly precedes a fall, but few world leaders fall as far as Nebuchadnezzar and recover their power. The king had another spectacular dream, this time of a tree. Daniel was called in again and informed Nebuchadnezzar that the great tree represented the king himself. In the dream, a loud voice issued a command to cut down the tree, symbolizing that the king would lose everything, becoming so deranged that his behavior would resemble a beast in the wild. 1 year later, as the words of arrogant pride were on his lips, Nebuchadnezzar was struck suddenly with a mental behavioral disorder that caused the most severe forms of disorientation. He lived in the bush, eating grass and acting like a common animal. Then miraculously he was healed, which he credited to Daniel's Big G God, and returned to Babylon's palace a whole man. Fast forward to the new king, Belshazzar, who ignored Daniel and dishonored Daniel's Big G God. Come on, you knew better, Belshazzar. You should not dishonor Big G God. Once again, at a gala party, Belshazzar poured his best wine into chalices taken from Jerusalem's holy temple, and his guests drank merrily in ridicule. At the height of the fun, suddenly a large, mysterious hand appeared and wrote something on the wall of the banquet chamber. "Mene, mene, tekel, parsin." The king was frightened and called Daniel to make sense of it. The meaning of the writing on the wall was, and that may be where they get the writings on the wall from. Anyway, was, "You have been weighed on the scales and found wanting." Not good for you, dude. The king was great now, but soon he and his kingdom would become weak, Daniel warned. That very night, as the party waned, invading Persians rode victoriously through Babylon's gates and killed King Belshazzar. So Daniel served yet another king and empire who with honor and distinction. He became a top administrator under Darius, like either the Babylonian throne name of King Cyrus of Persia or a name given to Cyrus's newly appointed governor over Babylon. But what happens when you mix a new ruler, jealous colleagues, and prayer? It pleased Darius to appoint 120 satraps to rule throughout the kingdom, with 3 administrators over them, one of whom was Daniel. The satraps were made accountable to them so that the king might not suffer loss. Now Daniel so distinguished himself among the administrators and the satraps by his exceptional qualities that the king planned to set him over the whole kingdom. At this, the administrators and the satraps tried to find grounds for charges against Daniel in his conduct of government affairs, but they were unable to do so. They could find no corruption in him because he was trustworthy and neither corrupt nor negligent. Finally, these men said, "We will never find a basis for charges against this man Daniel unless it has something to do with the law of his God." Come on, Big G. He's going to show up and he's going to show out. But y'all, we have hit the time for day 55. It has come to the end. Hey, I love y'all. Tell Amby, hey, Amby, we love y'all. Sunday day, we're coming to see you, buddy. Y'all have a blessed day because we do love you. And I just thank you for being here and joining me on this journey called The Story. Bye. Love you.